Sleeping peacefully in the small but ensconcing brush on the island of Var ended with a rude awakening, where my brief consciousness met a soft morning sun and cool breeze. My later, more lasting awakened state met a different sun was in the sky. This one was higher and unrelenting in its warmth and brightness. It pierced the tree's foliage violently and pulled me out of my hiding place and into the cool waters of the Adriatic. With waking up to the assault of the sun in my dirt den, the dehydration of brushing my teeth with salty seawater, the twigs in my hair and pilfered tablecloth, my magic felt more mythological in nature. I was some wood-dwelling thief creature, a state of being that was shamefully familiar to me. Determined to prove myself honorable and worthy of more of life's sunsets, I sought out to find some distinctly human dignity. Despite my dishabille, I whistled merrily to deflect from my dereliction until I found the beach's public bathrooms and outdoor showers, replacing the tablecloth outside the restaurant on the way. The first spray of shower water elicited a squeal from my lips in its coldness, contrasting the sun's heat and the seawater's warmth. A small voice next to me laughingly said, "I know, it's cold, right?" A small woman with long brown hair was in the shower to my right. I responded to her in an easy affirmative manner, laughing with her at my own outward display of alarm. I still remember that moment because I was so eager to continue the spirit of camaraderie from the night before that I wanted to engage. But I also felt that it was not something to be forced, and especially during the intimate act of showering. I finished my shower and made my way to dry on the nearby rock wall overlooking the sea. To my surprise, she came to sit directly next to me, despite the long empty expanse of exposed lava rock to choose from. "She is asking for it," I mused indelicately, and I launched into effusive conversation. Her looks made her seem indiscernible in age. Like an adult doll, not aged or aging, just suspended in timeless animation, exponentially larger than a child's toy. Her voice was small but not high or shrill, making it easy to endure and engage. She was smart, funny, and open. Organically and without intending to, I told her about Dad and my mission to let him go. I asked her about her travels and what brought her to the island. She said it was a holiday with friends, and I jokingly emphasized, "What?" almost rhetorically, asking if she thought the captain would let me hitch a ride. She replied, "The captain is my boyfriend, so I can ask." My jaw dropped, and I felt a tingle in the back of my skull. I had felt that tingle in my life before, usually when miracles were unfolding. I asked who her boyfriend was, and she pointed to a form lying in the grass behind us. There was little difference between him and I in terms of our choice of island bed, except to say that his was decidedly more respectable in the light of day. I had to tamper my eagerness. I was desperate to have a more intimate boat hitching experience, but had not wanted to stir fate from his slumber, lest he deny my request on principle. With assurances from my new friend, I followed her tentatively forward, toward his feet and turgid rotund belly, all that was visible from our wall perch. I slowed to a stop and waited bashfully and with bated breath, as she lovingly touched his shoulder with a smile. I could not hear their words, but he sat up and looked my way as she waved me over. The captain and I introduced ourselves, and I explained to him in greater detail my mission, including my list of travels, before ending there on the wall next to his girlfriend. There was a long, pensive pause that I felt leaned toward rejection of my silent request, to which I simply said, "If at any point along the way you decide you do not want me to continue with you all, I will gladly go my own way, and vice versa. No one needs to be stuck with the other." I explained this almost dismissively, reverse psychology at work. The recognition that I too had a say in any future adventure's co-creation seemed to satisfy him. It was my admittance that I also had other options as to how to go about my vow to my father, and with whom. I was choosing them as much as they were choosing me. I was committed to co-piloting in conjunction with the crew and not co-opting or conspiring in mutiny to steer us careening off course and into the jagged rocks of regret. This next part still fills me with anxiety, as if the sheer reminiscence of the event might change the events in memory for the worse and change the outcome of the story, even as I recount it in these pages. The captain agreed, but not immediately. I was to meet them in 3 days at a time and place dictated by the captain and carefully typed into the notes of my smartphone. Even in hindsight, this story is perfect and needs no embellishment. But given the opportunity, I do have a couple of things I probably would have revised in the plan for sanity's sake. One was to ask for the correct spelling of the restaurant. The Slavic language is a tricky one for me to spell phonetically. Combined with the fact that it is also not easy to read or even pronounce for me, I found it difficult to find the rendezvous location on that specific day and time. I wandered the city streets, asking if anyone knew where to find the restaurant, and most could not even make a guess as to what I had meant in my erratic placement of vowels in my spelling of the restaurant. I finally explained to a local that it was supposedly the best seafood restaurant in town. The answer was instantaneous, indicating to me that there was really only the one. I found a seat on the terrace and eagerly watched the wharf for part of this chapter's co-authors. I arrived a good hour before the predetermined time, leaving nothing to personal error. As the 5 o'clock meeting time approached, I sat, eyes scanning the passerbyers with anxious anticipation. The hour came and went, and with it, the dawning of my second revision. That I had asked the captain for his contact details. A full name, a phone number, email, or even social media information would have sufficed to quell the waterfall of emotions that cascaded inside me, bringing me low. And although anger was never one of them, I did feel a type of galactic disillusionment. It seemed a cruel joke to play on someone grieving the loss of their father. The next half hour was agonizing, and I have no idea at present how long I would have been willing to stay there. In that seat, certainly until the restaurant closed. In that city, returning to that same spot every day? I have no idea. I suppose I would have used that restaurant as my base to ask other captains if they had a space aboard their rig. That rings the most true and made the most logical sense in that it would be like killing two birds with one stone, so to speak. Luckily, I would not need to. At 5:45, they arrived and apologized for their lateness. I could have wept then with relief and gratitude. It not only restored my faith in humanity, it restored my faith in God, which had been in fluctuating supply for longer than I cared to admit. All 6 future passengers dined together, and we filed back to the trimaran to organize our gear and embark on our journey. The days that followed are some of the most accomplished moments of my life. We sailed the Dalmatian Islands for a week, island hopping and stopping mid-sea to moor the boat and take long leisurely dips in the warm water. There was a couple, a father and son duo, and the captain and I, my doll-faced friend having to return home for work-related reasons. At first, I suspected she had given her spot to me in honor of my mission. I was afraid to ask and either reveal any presumption, or worse, have those suspicions confirmed and be filled with guilt for having bullied my way onto the boat. Some gracious voice inside reminded me of the contract with the captain that we each had vowed to uphold. Satisfied that this was simply God's will, I leaned into the experience with the confidence that my presence was not only welcomed, but wanted. The trimaran trip ended for me a week later back in the north of Croatia at the town of Pula. I had done it. I had not only managed to hitchhike a boat, I had also managed to get along well enough with the crew long enough for us to complete both of our missions and to get an invite to visit them in Slovenia. I carefully took down their contact details, and I thanked my enlightened pirates and disembarked, and the crew continued on day for a day before mooring for the summer and heading inland to their home in Ljubljana, Slovenia.